TJ Watt and Michael Strahan currently co-own the single-season record for most sacks, as Watt posted 22.5 sacks in 2021 and Strahan posted 22.5 sacks in 2001. A little ways down the list is Hall of Fame legend Reggie White, who sacked the quarterback 21 times in just 12 games of the shortened 1987 NFL season. What's even more impressive is that he was held without a sack in one of those games, so technically he did it in just 11 games. In addition, White forced 4 fumbles and even scored a touchdown. This resulted in White being named the Defensive Player of the Year, which he would win one more time over the course of his career. 21 sacks in just 12 games meant that Reggie averaged 1.75 sacks per game in 1987. White would post 8 multi-sack games in 1987, including a 20-7 loss to the Giants when he posted a total of 3 sacks. Now, it's not accurate to extrapolate such a season to a full season, but if Reggie White had played an entire 16-game season in 1987, he very likely would still own the single-season sack record, as he was completely unstoppable that year. The 1987 season was shortened due to a player strike, and the majority of the players elected not to cross the picket line, meaning that they ended up playing just 12 games over the course of the season. Reggie White was one of those players who elected not to cross the picket lines, and he ended up playing just 12 games for the Philadelphia Eagles in 1987. Another player who also chose not to cross the picket line and chose to play just 12 games is Jerry Rice. The 1987 shortened season is perhaps one of the most impressive seasons in the illustrious career of Jerry Rice. In just 12 games, Rice recorded 22 receiving touchdowns and added another on the ground. Rice's 22 touchdowns on 65 receptions meant that he had roughly a touchdown on every 3 receptions. O.J. Simpson's most iconic season was his 1973 campaign, in which he became the first player in pro football history to eclipse 2,000 yards and the only one to do it in 14 games. But I'd argue that his 1975 season was actually his best. Simpson led the league in every rushing category and in comfortable fashion in some cases. His 329 attempts led the league, and his 1,817 rushing yards were absurdly good, beating out second place Franco Harris by nearly 600 yards. He tied the league lead in rushing touchdowns with 16 and averaged 5.5 yards per carry, also leading the league. No other running back with over 150 carries reached 5.0 yards per carry. Adding to the absurdity, Simpson had his most productive season through the air, accumulating over 400 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. Both his 2,243 scrimmage yards and 23 total touchdowns were league records, with the former leading the league by nearly 500 yards. In 2008, the NFL world straddled onto the New England Patriots bandwagon once again in hopes they could redeem their near undefeated season by winning the Super Bowl. After all, they had much of the same characters returning. However, star quarterback Tom Brady would go down with a knee injury, giving way to backup Matt Castle to step up. Despite his lack of experience, Castle thrived in the role, leading the Patriots to an 11-5 season. This record is usually enough to secure a playoff spot. However, because they lost the tiebreaker to both the Miami Dolphins for the AFC East title and the Ravens for the last wildcard spot due to the conference's record, the Patriots were out of the playoffs. Miami and Baltimore both finished 11-5 with an 8-4 AFC record, while the Patriots were 7-5 in the AFC games. This wasn't the only time an 11-5 team missed the playoffs. In 1985, the John Elway-led Denver Broncos were coming off a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the divisional round and were regarded as a Super Bowl favorite nearing the end of the 1985 season. The Broncos started out well with an 8-3 record. However, 2 unfortunate losses to the AFC West leaders foiled their season. The Raiders finished 12-4, while the Broncos at 11-5 missed out on wildcard berth to the Jets and Patriots, who won tiebreakers. In the first Raiders game, despite 3 interceptions from Mark Wilson and one of the best games in Elway's young career, running back Marcus Allen put up 173 yards on 24 attempts, and the Raiders emerged victorious in overtime off a field goal. However, this was in Los Angeles. Broncos seldom won on the road against the Raiders, so no harm, no foul. All they needed to do was win at Mile High 2 weeks later. Now, the second game had some truly horrific quarterback play. John Elway went 18 of 36 for 158 yards with 4.38 yards per attempt, a score and 3 picks. His passer rating was 36.6. If he threw into the dirt every down, that'd be 39.6. Not to be outdone, Mark Wilson was 13 of 28 passing for 93 yards, a score and 4 picks, a passer rating of 26.9. The teams combined for 9 turnovers. Both teams had 9 penalties, 85 penalty yards on the Broncos, 106 on the Raiders. These teams were not ready for prime time except for, of course, Marcus Allen. Allen had 135 yards on 25 attempts and the Raiders' lone second half touchdown, which tied the game up at 14. Once more, the Raiders kicker scored a field goal to win the Raiders the game and the division in overtime. The Broncos, meanwhile, would be outside looking in the playoffs unless they got some help. If either the Jets or Patriots had lost, Denver would have been in the playoffs. Instead, the Jets, who beat Cleveland 37-10, and New England, a 34-23 winner over Cincinnati, played each other in the AFC wildcard game.